Is it like a leg for a pirate?
No, you stick it in the ground and stick a...
a washing machine. A washing dryer thing. My mum had lovely curtains. The woman in the Deptford documentary choruses in Death March Minor. She's reciting the 60s, when it was less flower power, more funeral wreath for Deptford, declared a slum in the name of modernist utopia and razed to the ground once more post-war. She protects the frail ghosts of Blitz survivors by drawing her mother's curtains blind. I scanned through archival rubble atop dismembered limbs. They'd be worth an arm and a leg now, these terrified terraces, I think. First came the peace parties and then the government wrecking balls. Shattered. Window panes. She describes the nervous breakdown she suffered after the compulsory purchase orders of her mum's and neighbours' lovely curtains, when the council demolished a community on grounds of them having outdoor loos. And later, surveyors' reports emerged declaring that the housing was in good nick after all, or so the biased documentary narrator explains, teasing out the shame that crushes this velvet curtain woman as she explains how house-proud her neighbours were back in the day, scrubbing the front steps each morning. Deemed the grates unwashed just because they had WCs in the yard. When you've got to go, you've got to go. And these houses, they had to go. Other London councils, they gave out grants to install indoor bathrooms. Because there's nothing more civilised, is there, than toilets within the house, cesspits where you sleep. What's more refined than shitting inside or having an apologetic wee inches away from your other half who's in the bath, radiating radox, muddied by face mask? She mistakes the sound of your toilet trickles for her rainforest mindfulness playlist. Like a fish growing legs, she stews herself in sanctuary slime, reversing evolution in the name of progress. In the bathroom of a colourful 8-storey apartment block named the Tinderbox for the Tinder generation, who live in each other's pockets but they rarely see eye to eye. This brightly coloured Tinderbox building is part of a scheme called the Deptford Project. Project as in art, not American slum. And I wonder if the conversations and friendships that I'm building with locals, if they're just projects too. Recalling the comedy series Portlandia, which satirises subcultures of alternative Oregon in the USA. It's a bit like Deptford. A sketch about relational art where everything is revealed to in fact be an art project. The criminals, the traffic wardens and even people's friendships. And Carrie's parents admit that they only conceived her as an art project. They reveal a gallery label on their living room wall that she'd never noticed before, and it features Carrie's name, and underneath it the dimensions and medium, egg and sperm. 2 rich art collectors appear and they've bought her. Carrie's mum's house is sentimentally in the 70s, like Little Nan's Bar by Deptford Station, where the people who live in the Tinderbox block, they gather to feel at home because, like the woman in the Deptford documentary, they don't see their mum's curtains anymore. They're in Dartford or farther, and their mum's got the same curtains as them now anyway, so they might as well just look at their own. IKEA 2018, rainbow blinds named Dorothy. Dorothy was her grandmother's name, but this one has an umlaut on it. Bright colours look contemporary, don't they? But primaries are primeval. We grew colour vision to forage reds and ambers amongst greens. Stop, get ready, go. And where did it lead? To a story of house shares and shareholds with not much to share and not much to hold. An eye for an eye and a U for a U bend and an IOU for a mortgage provider that you'll never meet because he's way up high, above the food chain, somewhere over his rainbow-coloured meeting booths, each named after a Billingsgate, a Spitalfield or a Petticoat Lane. He's looking for pots of gold, but you can't be mad at his technicoloured dream cults, brutal monoliths dressed for pride parades. You can't be mad when they're so happy. Say no to homophobia, the fear of luxury apartments. Corporate chameleons in rainbow camo, having architectural visions like the psychedelic 60s, but with hipsters for hippies, GLA for LSD, and free market for free love. Riding the tide mill, a new wave of Deptford demolitions is flooding the banks of the Thames and the bankers of the wharf. Get out fast before the canary croaks. Corporate Care Bears burn bridges with rainbows, symbols of individuality, too transient to build a community on. Dorothy asks for some place where there isn't any trouble before she wizards off to Oz. Inject a rainbow. And it keeps the druggies out too. They can't catch their main lines below the rails anymore. Rainbow 1, Rainbow 2 or Rainbow 3. What a choice, as long as it's one of these three. And the rainbow is the icon of freedom. Under Deptford Railway arches at a company called MoMA, they're dissecting all the rainbows to give you something authentic, something like MoMA used to make. Porridges, all feathery and grayscale like penguin chicks feeding on maternal regurgitations. And the second hand of the second-hand market up by the Albany traces this powdered food's lineage to a pot of Coleman's nutrient supplement. And under adjacent arches, the bodybuilders of Commando Temple sip on something stronger, outsourcing digestion like pre-weaned newborns, bawling into rubber fonts at their buff baptisms. At Commando Temple, lifting your own gravestone makes you feel more alive. An onlooker watches a prolapsed colon creep through lycra, no pants to take the pressure when you're going commando. Gut-conscious locals forage the flea market for fermented fodder. The vintage clothing trend now extends to food, apparently. Prehistoric pickled eggs poached from probate clearances, yeast of the recently deceased. All these tap rooms, gym bars and beer fests, someone complains, mourning the spirits of the high street's lost pubs, 16 of them. A tap room's not a pub, it's just a drinking establishment with beer and people and laughing. And okay, well, it's a bit like a pub, I suppose, but it's not proper, is it? Proper, a word used on the packaging of pies, crisps and beer, seasoned with a hint of nationalism. FreeProperBeer.com shouts a blind drunk blind tasting campaign for Meantime Brewery in Greenwich. Lambic authenticity is what we crave, and Deptford is blooming with it. On this one street you can buy 100 types of flour, spelt yam, plantain, and there's one called Gary. Maybe Gary Lineker has branched out from crisps to other starches. The most inventive is a blend of fish, tea and soup called fish tea soup. I catch a market trader trying to pass kettle scum off as the bougie new flour. Gluten-free. He'll sell you the Tums afterwards for your intolerance. Regurgitated from 1996. Pre-loved oils, salt and germaline come with free DNA of predecessors. Antisocial networking. Ancestral Actimel. Pots of mayonnaise, not sure how to spell themselves. The appeal of the erroneous. A sexy vegetable on the high street is loving its curves, flaunts them in the market sometimes. I saw it with its lippy on. The veggies in the Asda toe the party line though, green uniforms and discount dog tags. On Deptford's second-hand stalls, a beloved cat is worth $9.99, but a special nan, $11.99. It's all relative. Is it the special Nan from Little Nan's Bar, perhaps, I wonder? She's got a second branch now in Warren Street. I saw it. They're growing a family tree and they'll be everywhere soon. Little Nando's, because we love an ode to oldies. Her mum's curtains would look lovely in here. Inverted commas to wrap around the ornamentation of another generation. Tongue-in-cheek, cheeky, but you mean it, though. More is Moorish. Is that an empty shop up the market yard, or is it a concept store? Pared back to the plumbing and the concrete, their products are so rare that they don't even physically exist. I saw the Emperor's new clothes on sale in a boutique uptown the other day, on the same street as the new Little Nan's Bar, the one that calls food Eats. And thin air is Britain's biggest export, of course, because all the shipping containers importing things, they all go back hollow overseas. Empty shells. And Deptford Market is full of exoskeletons, filed under silicone with the charges and sealants, ways of sticking together like the muddy foreshore of the creek. Life rubble washes up at regular tides, bringing new wreckage of lives that reached their end. Manzi's eels and Lobos barracudas are in the swim. Electric culture clash of elongated bodies wrestling for survival like a snake v mongoose YouTube. Those without Wi-Fi come with fireworks, in case of lost signal at sea. And some have retired, bought a boat, and sailed away. You can hook a duck, but you might get someone else. Funeral pamphlets arranged like an estate agent's window, looking for new hosts. Complete with their family photos, cold keepsakes, and past perfect plans for a holiday in Cuba. Everything you need to move into your new life in their old life. A set of sunrises, a rise of sunsets. Peter's stalls up by the Albany, they're a mausoleum, and he's Tomb Raider without the body. You can earn the ashes of an invisible man, acquire the skull of an emoji, buy a novelty landmine foot pedal, pick your cause of death, or take home a Playmobil apocalypse. Up the high street, the living reminders that they're conscious, branded brains quoting Japanese conceptualist Onkawara, whether they know it or not, who sent telegrams in the 70s saying, "I'm still alive," hasn't sent one since 2014. He's dead now, of course. Deal with it. You've got your own problems. The Double Jab Boxing Club in Fordham Park has a slogan, "Jab, don't stab," encouraging punching as an antidote to violence. Seems paradoxical, but it works. Life can be hard in precarious times, but we'll train the kids up for economic balancing acts and build monuments to how peaceful shark class felt, how serene lion class were, and how tranquil jaguar class reported to be. Wishful thinking of desperate teachers in the hope it tames them. But predators can spot your Achilles heel a mile away. The council redevelopment office has Tipex the A and the ES from the Achilles Street sign now so that it reads Chill Street to calm people down in the face of impending demolitions. Perhaps it's a similar method to Tottenham Council, who painted a waterfall on the notorious Broadwater Farm estate after the 80s riots. But it's not very chill now on Chill Street. Waiting for diggers to arrive, they are promised rainbow apartments in the sky. And you aspire to aim higher, but is aspiring to aim enough to strive towards hoping to try to want to wish your dreams? Hope and glory seems so far from achievable that the clergy has had to put a laminated sign on their door to remind us it's a church, as though the Virgin Mary, pointy roof and crosses were not a giveaway. Just so passers-by don't think it's a Holy Spirit-themed gym bar or something. Best to be clear. You shouldn't make assumptions, said Our Lady of the Assumption. In the Deptford documentary, archive footage of a nightclub that was in the church crypt years ago shows the priest partying with locals wearing fancy dress, and one has come as a pregnant nun. He doesn't seem offended. He's seen it all. Anything to keep the community close. I walk past a woman who's playfully punching a shopkeeper who won't sell her the jeans that she wants for less. Nothing says friend like a dig in the ribs. And Kim's News on the high street favours the personal approach too, with cards so specialised that you can trace their target market to the only one golf-obsessed Caribbean grandma who's celebrating her 40th wedding anniversary in Deptford this year. Greetings for every conceivable life moment, and a few flavourless ones thrown in for strangers. Clip art beer for him and chocolate for her. Kim's News is the only place where you can buy iced gems without the icing, tiny digestive biscuits scaled down to go in your minuscule apartment. And they've got the minute studio flat bed to match. Want an official dog selfie jigsaw in 3D? You know where to go. The director of Deptford X Festival, he went to Kim's to buy a notepad. He had to choose between a gold sparkly one with the words, "Get it, girl," emblazoned on the cover, or a mock police officer one. He found it hard to choose, and this is why Kim's makes the world better, because there's nothing boring in there. Even the tiny dry biscuits identify as gems, and the transformers wear their trans fats with pride, and so they should. They've got L plates in the motoring section and L plates in the hen party section. Which are you? You get to choose. A soul is not generic. You've got to grow your own. Just when I thought Kim's window display of unicorn eggs and 1930s greeting cards couldn't get any more idiosyncratic, they swapped them for, of all things, a tiny dentist chair. Where did they even get it? Perhaps they identified the absence of one in the dentists up the road. They'd done their market research thoroughly. It's not even a dentist anymore, it's an aesthetics and smile centre. Aesthetics and smiles, art and psychology, the other goldsmiths. You can top up everything at Kim's News, even your 90s Pez dispenser, and if you want Murder Monthly, a photo of an angel, a keyring that says grumpy old man or sex bomb girlfriend, a ship in a bottle, eyelash curlers, a taxidermy dinosaur or a skateboard. They sell all these things and too much more. If that TV retail guru, Mary Porter's, if she visited, she'd turn its fortunes around by changing its name and putting a big sign up. Museum of the 90s, it would read, and it would feature in Time Out alongside a ball pit bar and crisp festivals and Little Nan's bar. Back in the market, I comforted a Zen statue of a woman having a total meltdown, surrounded by all this mess. You've got to surf and channel the chaos. I buy a bunch of obsolete remote controls from Ali's stall to make me feel more in control, but he finds me later and he asks to see in my bag and he takes one back and sells it to someone else who's buying a TV. Can he even do that? I'd already bought it. He can do what he likes. Tarek, the inventor who I met, he says that Ali's got loads of kids to support, and so I don't mind that he says that I pay more because I'm an artist and stuff is worth more to me, and he's probably right. And Tarek is buying parts for machines and zip wires that he's building, and he's excavating his garden so he can fit them in, and we eat lunch together at Hullabaloo and plot graphs on his phone to calculate how the price of an umbrella at Ali's stall is proportional to the probability of rain. And when it does rain, the sodden stalls spoil. But I'm haggling over a hole puncher that says, "Bob's, hands off," on it in Tipex. It's worth nothing, I say. It's rained on anyway. Who else would buy it? Bob the boss's premium hole puncher gave him status in the office. Its social, psychological, sentimental value was high. Now that Bob is dead and the hole puncher is in the house clearance section of the market, it only has functional value. 50p from Peter's stall up by the Albany. But if we find out that Bob's surname was Marley, its emotional and social value are greatly amplified again. Thus, Peter can afford to buy more of those wonderful hats that give him status as king of the market. Tarek and I watch a video of physicist Richard Feynman explaining how he can't answer why two magnets repel or attract. If you try to follow anything up, you go deeper and deeper in various directions, he says. And I revel in the unravelling improbability of the market. In its own way, the market is mindfulness or find no mess. Hours are lost in foraging, no goal or higher calling. I'm guided by someone else's prayers, odes to their DIY. I borrow another woman's purpose. Failed missions of authorless pens which seem to imply to my touchy feminist side that by default women lack one, unless the purpose is chocolate. And men just want their purpose to be bigger than their mates, and when it's not, they seek vents for their frustration. Corporate punch bags, desktop premonitions of the moment they smash up their office. A scaled-down croquet set that makes them feel like an aristocratic giant. And what looks like a fuckable champagne cork. Anything to feel on top. And Deptford's on the up, but it's still in touch with the bottom. Scatological symbolism applauds when you perform a movement. A little witch's hat is ominous of orifices. It's in Deptford, we're in the gutter, looking at the stars, but the reverse of that, we're in the stars looking at the gutter, on the top floor of the tinderbox, looking down at the market. And when they raise the tinderbox apartments to the ground in 2080, they'll see Deptford's true colours, a mixed up rainbow. Mix the multicolours together, you see, and it gets a little muddy, doesn't it? We're up Shit Creek with views of HSBC Tower, and we don't care if your mum had lovely curtains, because ours are Dorothy's from Croydon IKEA. We've all got them. A rainbow can't collapse, because it's not really there. All that is solid melts into air.